Hey guys, thanks for joining us. It's the 10th of September 2019. I'm Justin, and as always, I'm joined by Perry.
Yeah, I'm a loser this week, guys. I'm a loser this week.
It's okay. I'm a winner. We played each other in fantasy this week, so can't win
Yeah.
them all. Uh, yeah, so make sure you guys follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere where you listen to your podcast at. We're there.
What's up? It's Alexander Madison, running back from the Minnesota Vikings, and you're watching Clock Management.
Well, welcome back, guys. So exciting. It's week one's in the books. We got some stats to go off of, which is always exciting.
And what a week it was.
Right? Yeah, it was
you
crazy.
know, when I was watching it, I was getting frustrated, obviously, because my team didn't play well. But I think a lot of people's teams probably didn't play well. There were a lot of players that were drafted very high that did not play well. It was one of the most insane and hard to predict weeks I've ever seen.
There were a couple though that just absolutely
killed
it.
Oh yeah. There were. I mean, we'll talk about them.
Yeah.
There definitely were those players, but I mean, we'll talk about some more players that. Where were they? You know what I mean?
Right.
So not just on my team, they were all over the place. It was a crazy week. Crazy week. Yeah.
It was nice though. I mean, it was good to have real football on. I've missed it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Don't ever leave me again.
I don't think football can make that promise.
I know. Every year I fall for it.
Unless you're really counting on the XFL.
Oh, I am.
You're their only fan.
All right, Perry, you want to get into some news though?
Yeah, definitely. Not a whole lot of news to cover because we'll be talking about the games. Each game and people that did well, people that didn't do well, that so on and so forth. But I can't believe that we're gonna start the I'm not gonna start the show with him. First guy I want to talk about is Demaryius Thomas, who was traded to the Jets for a 2021 6th round pick. I know that doesn't matter. All right, now let's talk about
Maybe
the other
I
guy.
should have covered that.
The second story, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown. Okay, I can't remember where we left off at our last episode. The saga continues with Antonio Brown. Just to make sure everybody's on the same page, he was cut by the Raiders, then he was picked up by the Patriots, which I think you and I both mentioned would be a good spot for him, but didn't expect him to get picked up that quick. I know you talked about it, and I'm a firm believer as well. This was all orchestrated by Antonio Brown.
Yep.
He had the puppet strings going, man. He was the puppet master. I think it was all a big thing to get cut. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but when they were first trying to figure out where he was going to go and get traded, he really wanted to go to New England, but Pittsburgh refused to trade him to New England because they didn't want to have to play him possibly in the AFC Championship or something like that. So,
yeah.
Well, now he's there. Now he's accused of rape. So all it is an accusation at this point. There is a report that he could end up on the commissioner's exempt list. I think we got to take it seriously, right? They need to figure out if it's true or whatever, and they need to treat it very seriously. But if you own Antonio Brown, my condolences. We're on the same boat together. We're both miserable about owning Antonio Brown. I wish I never drafted him.
Yeah, the hard part with stuff like this is we like to look at numbers and analysis, but I'm not a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
I can't. The dude's he's out of his mind. He's crazy. I can't predict what he's going to do next. I don't think Antonio Brown can do that.
You know what's crazy is when we had our draft, the thing we were worried about were his stupid frozen feet.
Yeah, and that seems like 3 years ago at this point.
Right. And I shook it off. I was like, whatever, man. His feet will be fine. Well, obviously his head got in the way, not his feet. So
yeah.
No more. I'm not going to give any more thought to that right now. Malik Jackson will miss the rest of the 2019 season. This hurts, man. The Jaguars. I like Malik Jackson a lot. I think he's a really good player, but it hurts their defense. So it's something to note if you were relying on Saxonville, as Justin put it. I started Saxonville this week, and they got me -4 points. So that's just how my week went. And then last thing right here, it's reporting that Peyton Barber will remain the starter for week 2. I don't understand this. Ronald Jones was the better running back.
By far.
And neither of them are very good. So I don't know how you feel about Ronald Jones. Maybe he'll come up when we talk about their game, but I'm not starting either of these guys.
I got some more stats on them. I'll get into it during that.
Yeah, that's really all the news that we need to cover today, other than game news, which we'll get to in a moment. What about news that nobody cares about?
Yeah, so for the news no one cares about, I got 3 pieces of news here. First, Mike Scott from the 76ers got in a fight.
Michael Scott?
No, not that one.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. No, Mike Scott got in a fight outside of the Bills-Jets game. A fist fight with just, I think it was 3 fans of 3 Jets fans. He's a Bills fan.
I heard this actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine fighting over the Bills and Jets.
Right. There's no winners there.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the Bills and Jets, not even the fight.
Yeah.
Next, DK Metcalf was playing with a pacifier mouth guard.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. I like it.
Yeah. It came up as breaking news on my phone in the middle of the game. And I'm like, why is this breaking news?
That's breaking news.
But it's hilarious.
Not the fact that he actually had a really good game.
Yep. Nope. Who cares about that? He had a pacifier.
Well, you got to prioritize the important stuff.
Right. And then last, Odell Beckham Jr. was fined for wearing a watch during the game. He had on some super expensive watch during the entire game. My guess is that's why he didn't play so good.
I mean, he did okay, right? He scored like 14 fantasy points.
Yeah, but I mean,
if he did
people
that,
who were drafting Odell Beckham Jr. were expecting more.
I feel like there are a lot of players that ended up in that category.
That's very true, but they weren't wearing watches for me to blame it on.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's an idiot for wearing an expensive watch in a football game, but I also think the NFL is ridiculous for wanting so much control over what their players wear.
Well, I think that's more of a, like, it could have, like cut somebody if it, or something like that. And then like the potential outcry or outfall from that. So
totally unrelated, except for the word cut. Did you see the Chargers?
Oh, yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Eric Weddle.
Yeah, his head was more bloody than a UFC fight.
It was pouring out of the top of his head when he took his helmet off.
I know,
it was
like,
wild.
Like, how did he just keep playing through this that whole time? He's like, man, I'm sweating a lot.
I haven't even heard what happened really, but Ben is friends with a guy that's childhood friends with Eric Weddle. So we could probably get some insight.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Dr. Ben. I'm going to have to ask him about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there was another injury that we got to ask him about because I heard, like, I tweeted it out, but I read the injury and I had never heard of this. Like
the Tyreek Hill injury, I think.
That may have been it.
Yeah. Okay. Is that all the news that nobody cares about?
That's all of it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, we got plenty of I guess news, but just the stats and players to talk about.
Well, we could dive right into it. I've got a list of all the games up right now. Do you want me just to go down the line here?
Sure. Yeah, I still had the Word document from last time with the games, but if you want to do that, that's cool.
Cool. Let's start with the Chiefs and the Jaguars. Chiefs won this game 40-26. I think no real surprise there. You mentioned that you were hoping to see Saxonville come back. Can't really say that they did.
Yeah. Last year, they were the only team that held Kansas City without a touchdown.
Yeah, I don't think Jacksonville's going to have that shutdown defense that we kind of learned to expect from them.
And I think that there's 2 big news that came out of this game, 2 injuries. Yeah, we got the Tyreek Hill news where Tyreek Hill got injured, supposed to be out 6 to 7 weeks. He had to be rushed to a local hospital.
Mhm.
And then also Nick Foles got injured, and he's out for the season.
I felt bad for Nick Foles, man. That was a really good pass on that touchdown, and a really good catch. And it was such a good play, and then he's out for the whole season. I feel like
Yeah.
that's such a bad way to go down.
Mm.
And the Tyreek Hill news is as good as it could be, considering he avoided going on IR. So
Yeah.
I'll be holding on to him. Tyreek Hill is not going anywhere for me.
Who's the backup quarterback over there and for Jacksonville?
Oh, it's something Garden. Let me see. I got you right here. Gardner Minshew.
Bless you.
Yeah, Gardner Minshew.
Bless you.
You can't set up one of those.
I was waiting too long. I thought you were gonna say
Yeah.
his name earlier.
You're really awkward there. That was embarrassing.
I was waiting for it. I got too excited. I was like, I got to just lead him to this. It's not going to happen.
Okay. So those two injuries, of course, headline news. A couple of other things to mention. LaShawn McCoy for the Chiefs had a fantastic game. 10 carries, 81 yards. No scores or anything, but considering he just joined the team, really old running back, getting 10 carries and 81 yards on those 10 carries, especially when Damian Williams, 13 carries for 26 yards. I think we're probably expecting a little bit more out of him than what we got.
Yeah. And I know we were a little bit lower on him than a lot of other people, but I still, with that being said, I still expected more from him. And then I expect LaShawn McCoy to get more carries going forward.
Yeah, I don't exactly know who I want in this backfield. I'm still kind of avoiding it personally. But yeah, I think time will tell on that one. Sammy Watkins, the big receiver news of the week. 9 receptions for 198 yards and 3 touchdowns. It was like watching Tyreek Hill, but with a different name on the jersey.
Oh, and he was performing with really good defensive backs on him too. Like he was doing great. I think he's a great player moving forward. I wasn't super high on him before the Tyreek Hill news.
Yeah.
Because he will put up weeks like this and then he'll disappear on you. Sure. But now with Tyreek Hill out of the way, I don't think he disappears.
I agree with you. I think he's a must start and a must own, but I wouldn't. Okay, obviously I'm not going to say don't expect this each week because he's not going to score 3 touchdowns every week. But I still think the old Sammy of kind of disappearing can come back.
Yeah. I just think it raises his floor some.
For sure.
He won't completely disappear. He's going to have weeks where he's going to disappoint. Yeah. But I mean, every receiver has those with so little other options out there, and him being the primary, the most talented player in their receiver core at this point now. He's going to do better.
Wide receiver core, because there is still Travis Kelce there. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Only other thing I want to mention, Mecole Hardman is, if he's on your waiver wire, I would consider picking him up.
Especially in a deeper league. If you're in a 12-man league, for sure. In smaller leagues, there may be better options out there.
It's still week 1. We'll see how this pans out with Tyreek Hill going down. But Sammy Watkins is the wide receiver to own in Kansas City, and he's a must start now.
And Fournette did Fournette things.
Yeah. Fournette, Fournette did okay. I think that
he did right around where I expected him, minus a touchdown.
Yeah, I was thinking about this between 60 and 90 yards, and I thought probably about 1 touchdown. But he only got 13 carries, which was really surprising. It wasn't like they were splitting carries. They just, I think they were behind.
I think that's just, exactly. Game script. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what the biggest surprise here for me was? D.D. Westbrook.
Yeah. I actually thought he would have more.
That's what I'm saying. And I think that's part of with Foles going down, because Foles loved him.
Yeah.
And I actually liked D.D. because of that. And so now I don't know how I feel about him. I believe I dropped him in 1 league.
That's a little bullish, but I mean, I guess it depends on who you picked up for him. But I think wide receiver wise, I'm going to avoid this wide receiver core until at least next week, and I find out hey, is Gardner Minshew as good as he looked? Because he looked very good. 22 for 25, 275 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He did good. I think this is more of Kansas City not having a good defense.
Exactly. That's why I'm pumping my brakes on everybody but Leonard Fournette on this team, and I'm just going to go ahead and wait and see how it plays out. But I think Leonard Fournette is still a safe play, especially if you have him as an RB2, or even in my case, I have him as a flex. So
I actually picked up Gardner Minshew in our super deep 2-quarterback dynasty league as our third quarterback.
Perfect. We should put him in over Trubisky. All right. I don't want to spend too much time on one game, so let's move on to the next one, and that's the Vikings versus the Falcons. Now this one, I picked the Falcons to win. You picked the Vikings. You won this one. Vikings win 28-12. Let's start with the Falcons though. The fantasy. The big name fantasy players here, they ended up doing okay for the most part, but I think it was garbage time, right? Matt Ryan, 304 yards with 2 touchdowns, but he threw 2 interceptions, and those 2 touchdowns came at the end. Not a good week for Matt Ryan, not a good week for the Falcons. Devontae Freeman, 8 carries for 19 yards, not what you're looking for. 3 receptions for 12 yards. Austin Hooper, man, 9 receptions for 77 yards. I mean, if you're looking for a deep tight end, he might be sitting on the waiver wire, but I think there's some better guys that we might talk about later. Calvin Ridley, 1 touchdown. Julio Jones got 1 touchdown, but it was an ugly, ugly night for the Falcons.
Yeah, Julio got his right at the end. It wasn't that great of a game. Also, on the running end, Devonta Freeman saw 48% of the snaps on that during that game. It was super low for what you would expect. I do expect him to see more next week, but that wasn't good.
I mean, it kind of game scripted out, I think, a little bit, but as he's always been a very good pass catching back too, it was kind of weird that he didn't see more closer to like 60%. I mean, Ito Smith was their most efficient runner, and that's your guy. So I like Ito. I like Ito Smith a lot, but
I know my crazy prediction is looking more realistic every day.
I think the only takeaway from the Falcons game here is probably just don't overreact. Don't go selling Matt Ryan or Julio Jones or Devontae Freeman or Calvin Ridley. Just, it's fine. It's week 1. Don't worry about it. Let's move on to the Vikings, who played very well, very, very well.
You know who performed really well on the Vikings?
Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, I want to just go straight to Dalvin Cook. Yeah, he killed it. And you know who else did? Alexander Mattison.
Yeah, Alexander Mattison.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about Alexander Mattison now. And
right?
I feel like
we hopped on that before it was cool.
You're my boy, Alex. You're my boy. All right. He looked very good. He is a must own. He is a must own. If you have Dalvin Cook and don't have Alexander Mattison, you are doing it wrong.
You are a madman.
Yeah. But you're right. Dalvin Cook looked incredible. Incredible. He looked like the most talented running back in the NFL, in my opinion, in that game. All right. That might not be the case, but
yeah, he was amazing. And he saw about 68% of the snaps, which is right on the right where you want to see for like a bell cow back.
Yeah.
So it's on the lower end of that spectrum, but that's perfect, especially for him.
21 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5.3 yards per carry. I know we don't talk about yards per carry, but when you have 21 of them and it's at 5.3 yards per carry, you're doing just fine. So kind of interesting story. Kirk Cousins only threw the ball 10 times and only had 8 completions for 98 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, he wanted to.
There's no reason to.
Cook wouldn't let him.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's not often you see a quarterback get game scripted out, but Kirk Cousins got game scripted out. It's pretty funny. Stephon Diggs had a rough night, but he's coming. He was a little hampered, and when Stephon Diggs, for him, it's like all or nothing, right? He's healthy, he's very good. He has like a hangnail. He's like below average. So,
yeah.
But as Kirk Cousins only had 8 completions. I mean, none of the receivers.
I
really
feel
had
kind of
awesome
bad
games.
because I told people to start everyone in this game, and really, if you should have just started Cook.
You know, we had a few games like that.
Yeah.
Let's jump into another one. Titans Browns. Oh my goodness. Talk about getting punched in the mouth. The Browns got beat 43-13 at home.
Oh my God. So
Are you excited
good.
over there, Justin?
Yes, I actually am. Because like the I'm excited to watch all the Brown like hype turn against them. And for all
Yeah.
the same people who are predicting them to win the Super Bowl now be like, they're not even gonna make the playoffs.
I think they'll make okay.
Yeah,
I don't know about
I just want to see those people flip the script on it. It's gonna be hilarious.
yeah, it will be for
I actually don't think they'll make the playoffs. But I think they're a good team. I think they're a decent team. I think this was a horrible week for them and they played horrible.
It's important to note that none of them all played together in the preseason. This was their first game all together.
Yeah, they rested basically everyone but Mayfield.
Mhm.
So Baker Mayfield was sacked only 3 times last season. Yeah, and from week 10 on. And then he was pressured only 26% of the time on his dropbacks, which is the second fewest in the NFL. So he looked really good at the end of last season. In week 1, he was sacked 5 times.
Yeah, it was ugly, man.
Yeah, so he just had an extreme amount of pressure on him. It wasn't good, but the problem is they had traded away one of their best offensive linemen, so that pressure isn't going to go away. He's going to continue to see pressure.
Definitely. I think it's also important to pay attention to the Titans defense. I think the Titans have a very good run defense and pass rush. So, if you're trying to stream defenses, the Titans might be a good stream. Baker Mayfield looked terrible.
Yeah.
Just flat out bad.
Yeah, which I think that's as a result, all of those receivers didn't do amazing. Like they didn't do that great.
Yeah, none of them were stellar. I mean, Odell Beckham, 7 receptions for 71 yards. You and I were just talking about it. It came out to about 14 points and a half-point PPR, which, I mean, ultimately, like, you can't be upset about it. But from you mentioned where you're drafting him, you're expecting more. Jarvis Landry, 4 receptions for 67 yards. Otherwise, nothing really news or noteworthy. Nick Chubb had 17 carries for 75 yards. Considering how tough this defense was, I think it was a pretty good day for Nick Chubb. And I think he's going to continue to get a ton of work. So for you Nick Chubb owners, don't freak out just because he didn't have a monster game or anything. Go ahead.
I was going to jump to the other side of the ball with the Tennessee Titans, the receiving core. So I made a mistake when I was talking before a couple episodes ago, talking about Corey Davis. I want to apologize, not to Corey Davis, to AJ Brown, because he killed it. And he looked, I was saying wide receivers in their first year in the NFL, they don't do good, which is why I thought that was not going to be great for Corey Davis. I was wrong. AJ Brown did great. He looked great week 1. He looked like he's been here before. He performed. And again, Corey Davis did not.
I think, I agree. I think AJ Brown is the best wide receiver on that team. Most of his yards came from a huge 55-yard reception, but it doesn't matter. He looked infinitely better than Corey Davis because Corey Davis didn't have a catch. So,
he played?
I mean, we're still looking at the tape to see if we can find him, but AJ Brown, definitely the best wide receiver on that team. Don't necessarily want to own him yet. I'm not really, I don't know. Marcus Mariota, I hate hating on Marcus Mariota, especially when he has a 3 touchdown, 0 interception game, but I don't know, man. I think the Browns just played like it was a dumpster fire.
I do too, but like you said, I think he's the number 1 wide receiver on that team.
Sure. Yeah. If you want to own the number one wide receiver, then good on you. Go do that.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
done.
I just recommended to a buddy of mine to pick him up.
Yeah. Derrick Henry had a decent game. I'm kind of surprised it wasn't better, to be honest with you. He had the one reception for 75 yards and a touchdown. So going like if you take that away, he had 19 carries for 84 yards and a touchdown. Very serviceable game. You're happy if you had that game, but considering they're up 40, they won 43-13. You almost expect him to get like 25 carries here, and I'm not exactly sure why that didn't happen, but
Yeah, I think it may be just they didn't want to put too much of it on him, and with that big of a lead, they're like, let's mix it up some.
sure.
So I mean that's a good amount of carries for him. I'm happy with that. If I owned him, I'm ecstatic with that game.
Sure. Let's move on to the next one, the Bills and the Jets. I think I took the Jets here. You took the
Yep.
Bills. Bills won by 17-16.
Just as I thought.
Yeah. We'll start with the Bills real quick. Josh Allen looked really, really bad in the first half. He looked fairly decent in the second half. Led them to a comeback win. So good for him. 254 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Certainly could have been worse, as we saw in the first half. I think he's still good in 2 quarterback leagues. I don't want him as my quarterback in a 1 quarterback league yet. Rushing, Devin Singletary. I know that we were both afraid to fully commit to Devin Singletary. He did only have 4 carries for 70 yards, but he did get a ton. I mean, for 70 yards, right? For 4 carries, right? But he looked good. He had 5 targets for 28 yards receiving. First game as a rookie. I think Devin Singletary is a future here.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeldon was almost non-existent. He was only in on 2 snaps. Didn't get the ball in either of them. Frank Gore had 11 carries for 20 yards. Yeah. I mean that's pretty good in a walker.
Yeah, that's pretty good with a walker.
Yeah.
I think the big news coming out of the Bills, though, is John Brown. I've always been a fan of John Brown, but he's also burned me so many times that I'm afraid to commit to him again. But he is the number 1 receiver on that team.
Yeah. So this is a scenario. I know I just said I like AJ Brown because he's the number 1 wide receiver. I don't like John Brown. He's too much of a boom bust player. And like you said, he's done it so many times before where he'll vanish.
Yeah.
And you're just so disappointed. And so he scares me.
I think if he comes out in week 2 and he's got between 7 and 10 receptions again or targets again,
yeah,
okay, I'll start believing a little more, but
I'm the same. Like I gotta see it another week because of his past.
I'm not blowing any waiver priority on him this week. So let's jump to the other team here.
Yeah, Le'Veon, man.
Okay. I mean, you can give the crazy stat about Le'Veon, or I'll let you do it. You go ahead.
Wait, which one? I don't know what you're talking about.
Le'Veon Bell was in for 100% of snaps.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
100%.
They said
snaps.
He was not going to leave the field during in the like preseason. They're like Le'Veon will not leave the field. I thought that was like them like just coach talk.
You saw him like laying the cot out and stuff and starting a little campfire at halftime, right?
Yeah, he stayed there after the game. He's not allowed to leave the field.
Yeah, he's still there right now.
He had 17 carries for 60 yards and was the number 2 wide receiver there.
Yeah.
6 receptions for 32 yards.
And a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that was a really nice catch for a touchdown, might I add.
Oh, yeah. Like, people are talking about Robbie Anderson, possibly. Like, a lot of people were picking him up before season or drafting him. And Jamison Crowder actually outperformed him. Looked pretty good, actually.
Jamison Crowder has a history of being a very good receiver. I want to see it again. It's kind of like John Brown, right?
Yeah.
It's like, keep doing it, please. Keep doing it.
How about Quincy Enunwa? 1 reception for -4 yards.
I mean, that's a bold strategy, Cotton. We're just gonna have to see how that plays out for him. No, I mean, this game, was a little bit of a dud. I think people are more excited about it because of the Le'Veon Bell. Like, we wanted to see how well he did. I think he's kicking the rust off a little bit, but he definitely had an awesome game, and I think it's only going to get better. So
Yeah, because that was a low-scoring game,
Yeah.
17-16. Like, it's going to get better for him. I'm super excited. I was a little bit nervous on with Le'Veon Bell,
yeah,
but I'm happy. I'm happy that's working out.
cool. Let's jump to the next one here: the Ravens versus the Dolphins. Oh boy, let's start with the Dolphins, right? Let's start with the obvious one here.
All right, moving on
was
to the
bad.
Ravens.
It was bad. All right, so the Ravens, Lamar Jackson threw for 324 yards and 5 touchdowns and had 3 rushes for 6 yards. No, I'm not talking about Patrick Mahomes. I'm talking about Lamar Jackson. And then Robert Griffin III, 6 for 6, 55 yards and a touchdown.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah, perfect day for Robert Griffin III. If you started him, congratulations. But you probably wanted to start Lamar Jackson. Mark Ingram, he's the guy. Him and Gus Edwards. I guess.
I disagree. So
you disagree.
I disagree.
Lay it on me.
All right. So Mark Ingram was in on 44% of snaps for the first 3 quarters. He had more in the fourth quarter, which brought up his numbers. But in those first 3 quarters, when it was still, somewhat of a game, I guess.
It was never a game. Nice try, though.
Somewhat.
Nice try, though. No,
but
it was never a game.
But once the fourth quarter hit, it's just his show. They're just like, all right, you shut it down. But the point being, it's still committee there. He played against the Dolphins, so there's that. And then I think if you have him, I think this would be a great opportunity to trade him at his highest potential value.
When was it a game? At the end of the first quarter when it was 21-0?
When they were flipping the coin?
Or when it was it at the end of the second quarter when it was 42-10?
No, I just think right. No, so they keep the starters until the fourth quarter, basically, because Robert Griffin wasn't in.
I know what you're saying.
No.
I actually like that take. If you can get something good for Mark Ingram right now, find a team that needs a running back, grab one of their receivers or something, then sure. But I like him more than you do. I like Mark Ingram more than you do, but
yeah. I think going forward, I think Justice Hill will slowly take some of those carries.
We'll see. I mean,
I just think it's a committee that is going to stay a committee.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you don't, I guess my feeling is if you don't want Mark Ingram, then you don't want any player on that in that backfield.
I agree.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to the next game.
Wide receivers. I got one here. The Baltimore wide receivers, most of them. Well, I shouldn't say most of them.
We're going to talk about 2
yeah.
here.
Yeah, I'm going to go into one. I'll let you take care of the other ones. So I got Mark Andrews.
Tight end, by the way, not a wide.
Yeah, tight end for Baltimore Ravens. Killed it. Absolutely killed it. He's their leading receiver with receptions. He had 8 receptions. He was just looked great. He caught everything his way. Like, he was just amazing. 100% of the passes to him he caught. Yeah. And like, if he's available, which he probably is in your league, unless you're in a league with me or Perry, he's probably not. Yeah. Then you should pick him up.
Yeah, I own him in a couple leagues, 2 leagues actually, and yeah, I'm very, very happy with how Mark Andrews turned out. And I think the game's like, you're thinking, oh man, they scored 59 points. Of course, people found a bunch of fantasy points on that team. But I honestly think that this will continue, and I think this, not quite 108 yards, right, is going to be the norm for him. But I think the reception count and the target count, that's going to be the norm for him going forward. And he's super talented. So, 8 to 10 receptions, 80 to 100 yards per week is probably where he's going to fall. I really like Mark Andrews. The other guy that we want to talk about is Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. 4 receptions for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. In my opinion, this is one of these don't overreact too quickly things. While he looked fantastic, it was only 4 receptions. They were huge receptions every time. He looks good. Just I think maybe just pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, the only like limiting factor on him was he was also only in for 8 plays.
Right. So I think that's going to go up, of course.
Yeah, it's got to.
But it was the Dolphins. So this really young receiver against the worst team in the NFL. So just remember that when you're thinking about who you're picking up or who you're starting.
Yeah, he's going to be one of those boomer bust players, I believe, where it's like he's going to get you 2 touchdowns or he's going to get you 1 catch for 15 yards.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, let's jump into the Eagles versus that team up there in Washington. Eagles won this game 32-27. It was all Washington to start the game, but then the Eagles turned it around there in the second half. We'll start with Washington. Case Keenum, very nice game from Case Keenum. 380 yards and 3 touchdowns. That is better than he did in Denver all of last year. Thank you, Case Keenum, for catfishing us in Denver. Darius Geis, 10 carries for 18 yards. Darius Geis is hurt.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
Same knee.
Yeah. Adrian Peterson was a healthy scratch for the first time in his career. He's pissed.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's no reports, but I know
they
he's
need
pissed. Him. Yeah. And now they definitely need him. But who do you like more, AP or Chris Thompson?
Chris Thompson, 100%.
Me too.
Washington's going to be playing from behind in every game this year. And I have to look at their schedule unless they play Miami. But Chris Thompson's the pass catching back there. Yeah. He's done this years and years. He's great as a flex start until he gets hurt.
Yeah, I agree. I think I agree. I don't really want either, but Chris Thompson.
Yeah, if I'm choosing one.
Big wide receiver news on this team. Terry McLaurin. McLaurin.
Yeah, I know. I've been struggling to say that for like the last 3 days.
5 receptions for 125 yards and 1 touchdown. He looks good.
Yeah, I actually like him. I have 3 rookie wide receivers that I have as possible pickups this week, and he's one of them. He's looking good there. He doesn't have a lot of competition at wide receiver. Probably his biggest competition there is Paul Richardson, and so he should have that job.
Yeah. Eagles, Carson Wentz. I know you and I are both not as high on Carson Wentz as the rest of the industry, but 313 yards, 3 touchdowns. Very good day for Carson Wentz.
Horrible first half.
Horrible first half. Very horrible first half. But he didn't play a single snap in the preseason. And I think that was kind of a theme with a lot of these quarterbacks that didn't play in the preseason.
That's true.
So, Carson Wentz should be started, in my opinion. He should
by someone.
Yeah, in a 12-team league, he should be on one of those 12 teams.
Yeah, I mean, but I think all of it goes around, like how we were talking about the where you have to draft him.
Yeah.
He's not going to be on any of my teams just because I wasn't willing to spend that capital on him, where I could spend that on a lot of other quarterbacks that are going to do just as good.
Sure. But good day from Carson Wentz. Owners were happy. The real news here comes in the rushing. The leading rusher for the Eagles was Darren Sproles.
Yeah. Is that not what we predicted?
No, of course, that's what we predicted. Yeah, we were 100% accurate on that. Jordan Howard had 6 carries. Darren Sproles had 9. Miles Sanders had 11. I think that's good news right there.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders having the most carries on the team.
Not bad news.
Not necessarily the most production, right?
Yeah.
The big carry that I want to talk about is Alshon Jeffrey with his 1 carry for 2 yards and a rushing touchdown. Ooh, man. Alshon had a good day.
Yeah, he did.
It looks like I have the current lead on the Cooper Cup Alshon Jeffrey bet, but
That
it's
will
only
fade
1 week.
quickly.
Whatever, man. Let me enjoy this, okay? You won every single one of our games that we predicted, and you beat me in fantasy. I won the Alshon Cooper Cup this week. Eat it.
I had to. I was watching it, just like, seriously,
Yeah.
running play to Alshon Jeffrey.
I was cheering.
But on the wide receiver, or what, as we're talking about wide receivers, I guess, but on the receiving side, Deshaun Jackson, he tore it up.
Yeah, monster.
I did not like Deshaun Jackson. Still not huge on him, but he had a day. He is, when you say boom or bust, that whole philosophy is based on Deshaun Jackson.
I honestly think that we should start to expect quite a bit from him this season. This team is going to move the ball. This team is going to throw it deep. And the guy they're throwing it deep to is Deshaun Jackson.
You don't think it's Alshon Jeffrey?
No. No, I don't. But I think I won this week with Alshon Jeffrey and Cooper Cup, and I'm going to enjoy that. Deshaun Jackson, I would start Deshaun Jackson. Going forward, just start him. If he completely throws up a dud next week, I'm sorry, but I would start Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, Ertz, 5 catches, 54 yards. Should expect more in the future from him. He'll be fine.
Sure. Next game is the Rams and the Panthers. The Rams won this game 30-27. We'll start with the Rams. Jared Goff was horrendous. Yeah. Jared Goff was terrible. 186 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That stat line does not explain how bad he was. Looked like Jared Goff of his first season. Todd Gurley, 14 carries for 97 yards. They definitely managed Todd Gurley. He did better than I expected, but it's kind of exactly how Ben described it, right? He's going to look good early on until his knee stops. His knee's going to quit.
Yeah. The biggest surprise for me was Malcolm Brown.
Mm-hmm.
He got a lot more carries than Henderson.
Wait, you mean Darrell Henderson and the hype that was surrounding him during the draft season wasn't actually correct?
Not yet. If Gurley goes down, I think that it may be changed, like if he gets injured. But Malcolm Brown took 3 of the 4 red zone carries that they had, and the one other one went to Henderson. Todd Gurley didn't get a single red zone carry.
That was mind-blowing, by the way. When I hear they're going to save Todd Gurley or manage Todd Gurley, I'm thinking they have the best red zone running back for the last 2 years on their team. They're going to use him in the red zone, right? No.
The exact opposite.
I don't get it. But yeah, who would you rather own right now? Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson?
Brown.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm taking all the Browns. Marquise.
Antonio, you want him?
Oh, no, not that one.
He's yours now. You said it, man.
Malcolm Brown, Marquise, and AJ. All 3 of them.
Receiving core here, you got your 3 guys: Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks. With the really terrible week from Jared Goff, we didn't get a whole lot from the receivers.
No, but the number 1 was Robert Woods.
Mm-hmm.
8 receptions, 70 yards. 2 you had Kupp, 7 receptions, 46 yards. Then Brandon Cooks with 2 receptions for 39 yards.
I think going forward, Cooper Kupp's the number 1 by 1B is Robert Woods, and then the number 2, or I guess number 3 receiver is Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, and Cooks will have the weeks where he's the number 1 with some long pass for a touchdown, but yeah, you're right.
The Panthers, Cam Newton did not look good. 239 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. If you started Cam Newton, you were not happy about it. If you listen to our podcast with Dr. Ben, he said that you should be fading on Cam Newton, and this is why. He can have these weeks. Cam Newton can definitely have these weeks. But I mean, only one rush, or he had 3 rushes for -2 yards.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
disappointing.
telling.
Now, we talk about the rushing. My number 1 overall and your number 1 overall, Christian McCaffrey, was a monster. The number 1 overall running back on the week. So we nailed that one, buddy.
Yep.
We nailed that one.
Woo.
19 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns, 10 receptions for 81 yards. My goodness.
Shake and bake.
My goodness. He should be getting Cam Newton's salary and his salary for that game.
And did you go for the receptions?
Yeah, 10 receptions for 81 yards. He's a number 1 receiver on that team.
I blacked out.
He's obviously the only running back. The only other running back that got a carry was Alex Amara with 1 carry for 1 yard. It is a barren desert behind Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing to watch. I love Christian McCaffrey.
I think that basically covered. Oh, DJ, did we talk about DJ Moore?
No, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. DJ Moore, 7 receptions for 76 yards. I know a lot of people are high on Curtis Samuel. I think DJ Moore is the guy. DJ Moore is the number 2 receiver behind Christian McCaffrey.
He had that horrible fumble, which was sad to see.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can move on to the next one. Which game we got next?
Oh, let's see. Let's do the Chargers and Colts here real quick. We'll start with the Colts. Well, sorry, Chargers won 30-24. The Colts, you and I were both wrong. I'll flat out say it. We were wrong about the Colts. They looked very good. I know that I kind of came back on them, but I mean, I'm not going to say like I committed to these guys at all.
And I think I know what I was saying was I was down on them, but it was because I had an unknown quantity with Jacoby Brissett. I wasn't willing to say he was horrible. I mean, I did say that I thought he was going to be better than
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, Marcus Mariota.
He wasn't.
I think he looked better.
Marcus Mariota had over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I know.
No interceptions.
I know, but Jacoby did look good. He also had no interceptions, by the way.
Your feet are
and
nailed.
2 touchdowns.
Your feet are nailed to that soapbox right now.
Yeah, and also he was playing against the Chargers, who have a awesome defense.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he's playing a much harder team, and he's like just coming in.
I thought all the news going into the season was how good the Browns defense was going to be.
I was not talking about that.
All right. Whatever. Moving on. Jacoby Brissett, 190 yards for 2 touchdowns. I think the real story here, he went 21 for 27, which is extremely efficient. They lost the game, but it's not his fault. Marlon Mack, the monster Marlon Mack, 25 carries for 174 yards and a touchdown. This guy ran all over the field. And I was down on Marlon Mack after the Andrew Luck retirement. I did say he was the one I was least afraid of. But when we talk about this next guy, it doesn't really matter what I said. T.Y. Hilton, 8 receptions for 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. I was scared of T.Y. Hilton. I was fading T.Y. Hilton. I was selling T.Y. Hilton. I was wrong.
Me too. I tried to trade him in multiple leagues, and no one would take him.
Yeah.
And now I am not trying to trade him.
Yeah. T.Y. Hilton, awesome game. I think you can be comfortable starting both T.Y. Hilton and Marlon Mack going forward.
Yeah, this makes me happy.
On the Chargers, Phillip Rivers, 333 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, a very Phillip Rivers-like stat line. Threw the ball 34 times. Austin Eckler rushing the ball, 12 carries for 58 yards. But wait, there's more. 6 receptions for 96 yards and 2 more scores. Austin Eckler.
So Austin Eckler, like him and Nick Chubb both look like borderline bell cows with the amount of carries they were getting during these games. And both of them are in a similar situation where they're both awaiting the number 1 running back on their team to come back. I think that makes both of them you got to temper expectations towards the end of the season, obviously.
You think Kareem Hunt is the number one running back on the Browns?
Once he comes back, I think he's going to take the job. Yeah.
That's wrong. That's flat out wrong.
Okay, we're gonna have to make some sort of bet on this. But anyway, I think due to Eckler's pass catching ability, and which he showed off here, he's going to maintain more of value than Nick Chubb going forward.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yep. Keenan Allen, 8 receptions for 123 yards and a touchdown. Very good day from Keenan Allen. Hunter Henry, 4 receptions for 60 yards. I think it's tight ends, right? So yep. I don't really know what to say about that. Don't drop Hunter Henry if he is your tight end.
He did just fine.
Next game, Seahawks at Bengals. We're running along here, so I'm trying to move through this.
Try and get through them a little bit quicker.
Seahawks at Bengals. Seahawks won 21-20. Sorry, Bengals at Seahawks. They were in Seattle. We'll start with the Bengals. Andy Dalton, 418 yards and 2 touchdowns. Good day from Andy Dalton, but he did have to throw it 51 times to make that happen, and there was absolutely no running game to be had. Joe Mixon left this game with an ankle sprain. We don't know whether or not he's going to play. Right now, it's week to week. A lot of people are saying Gio Bernard is a high waiver wire priority right now. I'm saying no to that.
Yeah, me too. Joe Mixon had 76% of the snaps before he got injured. That's like high. I was talking about how high Cook was. That's even higher than that. That's where you want a bell cow back. I'm not going for Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah, I absolutely don't want him. I mean, even if Joe Mixon misses, I don't want Gio. But then we don't even know if he's going to miss, and then we got to try and play this whole game. No, thank you. Receiving, John Ross, another guy that everybody's talking about on the waivers right now. 7 receptions for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had 12 targets as well. I really, really like John Ross. I know
I do too. He seems to be coming out of his shell.
Yeah. Tyler Boyd, 8 receptions for 60 yards. Still had a good game. He just didn't have the scores, didn't have the huge plays that John Ross had. I think if not for John Ross scoring those, maybe Tyler Boyd would have had a better day. But I don't know. I think going forward, Tyler Boyd's still the number 1 until AJ Green gets back. Then it's John Ross. And then when AJ Green gets back, I think that order stays the same. AJ Green, Tyler Boyd, John Ross. So
yeah, that's the upsetting part.
But you never know, man. I mean, it could go AJ Green, John Ross if he just keeps exploding. I think he's worth a pickup. Because
I'm just saying it's upsetting because I'd rather see John Ross and Tyler Boyd continue to grow than have AJ Green come back, and who knows if he gets injured again.
I mean, I think he will get injured again. I'm selling AJ Green if you can. That's what this John Ross news says to me. All right.
Seattle side.
Yeah. So the Seattle side, Russell Wilson had a very efficient Russell Wilson day, 14 for 20. 196 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So Chris Carson dominated the carries. That's the biggest takeaway here. There was no 50-50 split that they've talked about. It was the Chris Carson show.
Yeah, Rashad Penny. I mean, if you want to wait a week and see what happens, I don't blame you. But personally, I'm kind of looking to drop Rashad Penny now. If Chris Carson goes down, Rashad Penny becomes very valuable. But they love Chris Carson there. I love Chris Carson there. Chris Carson is the guy there.
DK Metcalf looked to be the number 1 wide receiver. He had the most second most receptions after Chris Carson.
Here's another one of those moments where I have to admit that I was wrong. I don't know. I'm
still not sold.
Yeah, I think
I want to see a second week of this because it's so little. It's 4 receptions. 89 yards with 1 long reception. I want to see it a second week before I'm sold.
Sure. I will say that I went from there's absolutely no way to, yeah, I'm watching. You have my interest. That's how I'll put it. DK Metcalf, you have my interest as a Seattle wide receiver. Tyler Lockett, I still don't want you. All right. Moving on here. We got 6 more games to cover. Let's do it quickly. We'll do Giants at Cowboys. The Giants, you got exactly what you expected. except for Eli Manning throwing for 300 yards and a touchdown, he looked fine. They didn't lose the game because of Eli Manning.
And Eli didn't lose his job.
No, he did not.
Of Eli.
Saquon Barkley was Saquon Barkley. I think we all expected exactly what we got from him, and we were happy. 11 carries for 120 yards, which is an insane average.
Yep.
Four receptions for 19 yards. Yeah.
Yep. And then you got Evan Ingram.
This is exactly what we said.
Yeah, exactly. He killed it. He was the main receiver there.
And he will be going forward.
Yep.
Evan Ingram, it will be the number one receiver going forward.
On the Cowboys side,
looked amazing. The whole team.
Yeah, the carries. Yeah, everything looked great. I love also Tony Pollard had 13 carries, same amount as Zeke. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, that will not be.
Yeah, don't look forward to that. Yeah.
I think that was kind of
Pollard.
I think that, I mean, we reported this last week. They're easing Zeke back in. I bet you Zeke will have close to 20 carries next week. Tony Pollard will have close to 5.
I'm going to run through the receivers real quick. Michael Gallup, 7 receptions, 158 yards, 0 TDs. Amari Cooper, 6 receptions, 106 yards, 1 TD. Randall Cobb, 4 receptions, 69 yards, 1 TD. Blake Jarwin, 3 receptions, 39 yards, and a TD. And throwback to 2010, Jason Witten, 3 receptions, 15 yards, and a TD.
Yeah. I think what we're reading here is Dak Prescott had an amazing game. The Cowboys played really well against a really, really, really bad team.
I think what we just read here is Dak Prescott is getting a new contract.
Yeah, that boy about to get paid. And he should. Okay. We'll move on here to the 49ers and the Bucks. I took the Bucks in this game. They lost 17-31. There's a trend with all of that. Starting with the Niners, Jimmy Garoppolo.
Niners got carried by their defense in this game.
Yeah.
Garoppolo looked really bad. I'm hoping they get that together. I'm not sure exactly what the problem was there. I need to watch more tape on it, but he was not doing good. I could tell you that.
Yeah.
Raheem, big news on the rushing part. Yeah. Tevin Coleman got injured. So now you have Raheem Mostert and Matt Breida there as the number 1-2 back. Talk of them activating a third one off their practice squad. Yeah. Receiving, no surprises. George Kittle led the receivers with 8 receptions. No TDs from him. He had 2 get called back on for penalties. So looking forward, I would expect him to have touchdowns. He's leading that. Deebo Samuels, 3 receptions, 17 yards. Nothing great there, but he was the number 1 wide receiver there. And Dante Pettis played on 2 plays.
Yeah, Dante Pettis is a must drop.
Yeah, get rid of him.
Drop Dante Pettis. Do not hold on to Dante Pettis.
Surprising on the Buccaneers side, though, Mike Evans. 2 receptions, 28 yards. That's it.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and your friends don't listen to this, go try and get Mike Evans. Mike Evans right? had the flu. He's coming off of the flu, and a lot of people don't know that. I think that's part of the reason he had such a bad game. If you can go snag Mike Evans for cheap, please go do it.
Or Chris Godwin.
Yeah, or Chris Godwin, who had three receptions for 53 yards and a touchdown. I actually just went and got Chris Godwin. I traded Phillip Lindsay for Chris Godwin. Very happy about that trade. I have Tyreek Hill and Antonio Brown on my team, so I need wide receiver help. But if you can grab one of these 2 guys, they're a target right now.
Yeah, and if you have Winston, drop him.
Yeah, he's bad, man.
On the rushing side, though, you have Ronald Jones, Peyton Barber. Ronald Jones was way better than Peyton Barber. So, of course, Tampa Bay announced Peyton Barber as their starting running back next week.
Really good job there. Let's move on here to the Lions and the Cardinals. This game ended in a tie.
Yeah, either one of us called that one. Weird.
Yeah. Of the games that Justin and I agreed on, this is the only one we got wrong. And we only got it half wrong. We'll start with the Lions. Matthew Stafford, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns. Great day from him. Not very efficient, but, I mean, we don't really care about efficiency so much. It's just the end yardage and touchdowns. Kerryon Johnson, man, when will they free him? When will they let him run free? Or 16 carries for 49 yards. He did get the bulk of the carries, but what really scares me is CJ Anderson getting 11 carries.
I know. So upsetting. Just give him the ball. It's his job. That's his job.
CJ Anderson looks like a lineman out there running the ball, by the way.
And then you got TJ Hawkinson. That was kind of a surprise to me. Actually, this entire receiver core, the top two were shocking to me. Danny Amendola, the number 2 wide receiver. Wow.
Yeah, I saw Danny Amendola as the number 3 here. I had it Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay, Danny Amendola. When Danny Amendola, Marvin Jones, Kenny Golladay. Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay basically had the same day. Kenny Golladay had a touchdown though. But yeah, TJ Hawkinson, he's available in a lot of leagues, and he
not a bad pickup for tight ends. Yeah,
he shouldn't be next week. Please go pick up TJ Hawkinson if you need a tight end. And then the Cardinals.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's horrible.
Whoa. He had a very horrible start to the game. His first ever professional football game. I don't think you should go out and grab Kyler Murray, but he came back and almost won that game.
He came back and he tied that game. But no, he didn't look good. He didn't look good though.
He looked very good at the end of the game.
He looked good
he settled in and he looked better
for like 1.5 series. Their offensive line was a big issue. He was under pressure a lot, and I think Detroit made that a purpose. But anyway, getting off topic, no one like quarterbacks aren't that big of a deal for fantasy, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about Kyler Murray. David Johnson looked great. He had 18 carries, 82 yards. It's good to see him back in there. He had 6 receptions for 55 yards and a touchdown. Great day for him.
Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald still got it. Their number 1 wide receiver. He's in the Frank Gore 100-year-old football player club.
Except way better than Frank Gore.
Right. But the two of them just won't go away. Larry Fitzgerald, I think is less annoying because you could actually start him. He had 8 receptions, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Keyshawn Johnson down there, he's rookie there, 5 receptions, 46 yards, no touchdown though. So, and Christian Kirk he was way down there on the list, 4 receptions, 32 yards.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much covers it. I'm not too interested in any of their wide receivers unless it's a deeper league.
I mean, I'll take Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, if he's available, yeah. But yeah, he's probably not available. Any of the one like Keyshawn's probably available. Damiere Byrd is probably available. I'm not going for either one of them.
Right. Next game is the Steelers and the Patriots. This game was kind of a dud in terms of if you're looking for a fun game to watch. This was Justin's game of the week, so buckle up, everybody, to the 33-3 win by the Patriots. Yeah, definitely the game of the week. Ben Roethlisberger, 276 yards and 1 interception. Pretty much everybody on the Steelers was pretty bad. Juju Smith-Schuster looked the best with 6 receptions and 78 yards, but I don't really have anything to say about the Steelers other than I hope they're better going forward. Yeah.
James Conner too. Same thing, 10 receptions for 21 yards. He's going to be better going forward. Like, this was a horrible game.
That's 10 carries.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, 10 carries.
He had 4 receptions for 44 yards.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot better going forward. Don't worry about it.
On the Patriots, the man that will never quit, Tom Brady, 341 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was surgical. This game was surgical.
Yeah. And don't forget Julian Edelman, one throw for 32 yards.
Yeah. Julian Edelman played quarterback in college. So Rex Burkhead had the best day out of the running backs. but there are
Oh, man.
3, 4
4 or
technically running backs that really are on this list. I still think Sony Michel's the guy you want, but I don't know
Yeah.
if you really want any of these guys right now. Rex Burkhead, everybody's going out to grab him.
Don't do it. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
The only one I'm interested in here still is Sony Michel.
Yeah. James White maybe, but if Antonio Brown shows up there, James White's value goes way down. The receivers, we had Philip Dorsett with 4 receptions for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, probably don't go grab him either.
No, I'm gonna avoid Philip Dorsett. Josh Gordon looked good. 3 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
He got hit hard, which I think kind of knocked him out of the game just a little bit.
I haven't heard anything since though. He seemed
I think he
saw
fine.
one thing saying
Yeah.
he was fine. Yeah.
I think he's fine. I also think they just didn't really need him, right?
Yeah. Right. Why risk it?
I still think Julian Edelman's the number 1 receiver if Antonio Brown's not there. So Julian Edelman, if you don't know, he runs the exact same route every single play, and he's always open. So that will always work, apparently.
Oh, he had 6 receptions. I thought that was a replay.
Yeah, no, they weren't just showing the same thing over and over again. Moving on to what was my game of the week and what turned out to be the actual game of the week, the Houston Texans versus the New Orleans Saints. The Saints won this 28-30 in a thrilling fashion. You watched this game, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, was that an awesome end of the game. If you didn't watch it, stop now. Wait, continue listening to this, but as soon as you're done, go watch this game. It was awesome. It was amazing. I have nothing invested in this game, but I was yelling at my TV.
If you're short on time, just watch the 4th quarter.
Yeah, I was yelling at my TV. Really fun game to watch. We'll start with the Texans here. Deshaun Watson, really good game. If you had Deshaun Watson started him, you were probably happy with it. 268 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also had the flip spin into the end zone for a rushing touchdown, which was awesome. So you were happy with his 4 touchdowns. The running back situation, Carlos Hyde, 10 carries for 83 yards. Good for Carlos Hyde. I still think that Duke Johnson's the ever down back, but I don't know. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Carlos Hyde might I don't know, he might take it, but I'm still a Duke Johnson guy here.
Watching DeAndre Hopkins play last night, I think he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. Yeah. I think there's really no debate.
Oh, I watched one play where he caught the ball with one hand, and then as he is being tackled, he is like waving the ball out here with one hand and just no problem and rolled gracefully to the ground. I'm like, no wide receiver coach in his life has ever told him to do that. Yeah. With one hand just out with the ball, but he could do it. I mean, because he's amazing.
He's incredible. I think Julio Jones sometimes makes the argument for being the best. Antonio Brown in the past, but he's an idiot now, so who knows?
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, real quick. Well, I mean, we could come back if you want to the receiving portion, but on the other side, Alvin Kamara looked amazing. He his balance as he was hitting players and coming off of hits. I was amazed by it. It was better than any of even the other running backs who had huge weeks. This was the most impressive running back to me.
Every time he touches the ball, I feel like he's about to go for 75 and a touchdown. So Alvin Kamara, you're right, looked amazing. Latavius Murray, though, looked exactly as I expected, and as a Alvin Kamara owner, exactly how I wanted him to look. Not quite as good as Mark Ingram, but that's okay. I want Alvin Kamara with the ball in his hands. So Drew Brees looks like Drew Brees. Michael Thomas looked fantastic. Ted Ginn Jr. was the number 2 receiver. I don't know if that'll continue. I still think Traquan Smith is probably better than him long term.
Taysom Hill too.
Taysom Hill, the backup quarterback. With
a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, really good game. Fun game to watch. And we got one more here, the Broncos versus the Raiders. So I will say, if you're a Raiders fan, you're very happy about this game. They looked dominant. The rookie running back, Josh Jacobs, looked fantastic. I think that he cemented himself as the best rookie running back going forward. David Montgomery, while very talented, needs to be given the work. And if he's not given the work, then he's not going to be considered as the best rookie running back. Josh Jacobs looked awesome. He looked very, very good against a Denver defense that didn't really perform well, but should be good, right? So I don't want to take anything away from him. He did very, very well. 23 carries. That's a lot of carries. We're happy about that. 85 yards, 2 touchdowns. Awesome night for Josh Jacobs.
I'm super excited about him.
Yeah. Tyrell Williams, 6 receptions for 105 yards and a touchdown. I think the people you want to... Oh, and then, sorry, Darren Waller, tight end in Oakland, 7 receptions for 70 yards. This guy looks very athletic. And I learned last night that he's a converted wide receiver.
Yeah, and he's like you said, he looked good. He looked like comfortable out there catching the ball.
Yeah, he plays like a wide receiver. So I think the 3 guys you want to own on this team: Josh Jacobs, number 1; Tyrell Williams, number 2; Darren Waller, number 3. Everybody else, I don't want anybody else on that team really. No. Denver. This is from a Denver fan. Okay, I think Denver is the 2nd worst team in the league right now. They looked terrible, and I knew that.
I don't think they're that bad, but they did look really bad
this week. Who looked worse other than the Dolphins?
The Redskins in the second half. The first half, the Redskins came out looking decent, and then if they fell apart.
I think Denver was garbage, actual garbage, watching them last night. Joe Flacco, you need to throw the ball further than 5 yards if you want to win a football game. All right, you'll never hear this, but if anybody knows Joe Flacco and can get a hold of him, tell him he needs to throw the ball down the field, please.
Yeah. So one thing I was kind of surprised about this, because Joe Flacco he loved to do this when he was in Baltimore, and he would target their tight ends like crazy. He didn't do that here. Noah Fant had 2 receptions.
Noah Fant, by the way, I don't want to get too much into this because I'm a Bronco fan. He did not play well. He had, I think, like 3 false snap penalties, false start penalties. Cortland Sutton looked very good. It looks like he's ready to take that next step. The Oakland Raiders don't necessarily have the best team, so we'll see how he plays out. But 7 receptions for 120 yards, and they didn't do anything with Emmanuel Sanders until like the 4th quarter, where he ended up with 5 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown. I think Emmanuel Sanders is back into that. Just go ahead and start him as a number 2 or a possible flex, or if you have a 3rd wide receiver spot and you can put Emmanuel Sanders in there, you're probably happy with that. As for running the ball, Philip Lindsay had 11 carries. Royce Freeman had 10 carries. I'm a little worried about this backfield. If you're relying on Philip Lindsay to get the production from last year, I don't know if that's going to happen. The one thing that is good about Philip Lindsay is he catches the ball. So he had 4 receptions for 23 yards. It kind of saved his night with those 4 receptions, gave him something to be pretty proud of. But yeah, I don't know. Not excited going forward for Denver. And that covers all the games of the week. That was a lot.
Yeah, I went kind of long. I'm going to put some timestamps in here for each one of these games so people can jump to whichever, if you don't have enough time, listen the whole thing, you could skip to whichever
it's important,
one you want.
It's important that we said that at the end of the show too.
Yeah, so if you heard that, you already knew about it. So it'll be in the description though, so people should be able to see it. So
yeah, well, we'll be back on Friday with some news. Hopefully we'll have more to talk about with Antonio Brown. I'm sure we will.
And Thursday night football game.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Thursday night football game and
have a beer.
Yeah, everybody, peace out.